Well, we made it. It is the final day of Rowdy Week as we celebrate the 65th birthday of an international sports icon. And I promise you, folks, right now, as he is listening to this, Rowdy is rolling his eyes, he's shaking his head, and he is truly thinking that this is all hyperbole. But here are the facts. Rowdy Gaines is a three-time Olympic gold medalist who set 11 world records. He's a member of the International Swimming Hall of Fame. He's been voted one of the 30 most influential people in the history of swimming. He's a master swimming superstar who has set dozens of age group world records and is personally responsible for not just inspiring, but actually teaching tens of thousands of children and adults worldwide to learn how to swim. He's an 8 or 9-time NBC Olympic broadcaster. We'll find out in just a minute. Who's considered not just the voice of swimming, but the worldwide ambassador for swimming. This is a guy who's been celebrated in films and books. He plays golf with Michael Phelps. He shoots hoops with Charles Barkley. And yet he will stop and give everyone a moment of his time. All who know him will tell you that to know him is to love him. So let's welcome the birthday boy himself, 65-year-old Rowdy Gaines. Rowdy, how you doing today?
Thank you, Mark. I really, really appreciate your friendship so much more than you can imagine. And I need to take you on the road for that introduction, that kind introduction. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. So how does it feel to be a Medicare age, or how does a Medicare age superstar celebrate his birthday? What are you guys doing today?
You know, it's funny because I've been talking about this whole Medicare thing, about signing up for it. How do I do it? I can't imagine me saying the word Medicare. Just saying the word drives me crazy. But, you know, I'm in the twilight of my life. I'm on the other side, Mark. And, you know, fortunately, I have people like you and so many others that are my elders and people I look to, my mentors, that have paved the way. And I really feel good about that side of things. You know, when I talk to you about swimming, for example, and you tell me you swim and you're still going strong, and that inspires me. So, and I know so many people that you've had on Growing Bolder over the years have been inspirational to me as well. So, you know, I feel pretty good right now. I got some aches and pains, no doubt about it, dude. But I'm hanging in there, you know.
If there is anybody that knows how to hang in there, if there is anybody that knows about resilience and how to not just get through challenges, but leverage challenges to one's advantage, it's you. But let's talk swimming for a second, since you brought it up. I know you got to be incredibly busy these days. The U.S. Olympic swimming trials are coming up in June in Indianapolis. And then I'm guessing it's straight from there to Paris for July. Are you ready? Is it exciting? Or do you want to go to Paris? I mean, you read about the bed bugs and everything else these days.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm excited with every single Olympic Games that comes along. I feel very blessed, Mark, in all seriousness and without any kind of false sense of modesty. I'm humbled every time NBC asked me to do the Olympic Games. This will be, I think you had mentioned 8th or 9th. It's my 9th Games with the network. I started off in 92 with the triple cast with NBC, but been doing over the air since 96. So I love it every time. Each Olympics is unique. Each one has a different story. I feel very fortunate to have called really the golden era of swimming. If you think about it, Michael Phelps and Katie Ledecky, the two greatest swimmers, male and female, in history. So I've called all their races. So many others I can't even begin to tell you. And Paris is going to be great, man. I mean, we kind of went, it's not a boycott year that I suffered through in 1980, but 2020 was a unique year, or 2021 rather. And, you know, it was really a tough Olympic Games because of COVID, obviously, and what we were all going through from a world standpoint. But I think Paris is going to kind of bring back the spirit of the games. Not that there wasn't the spirit in Japan. The Japanese people were unbelievable, but I felt very bad for them because, you know, they were dealt a pretty raw hand. And but I think people are starving for that electricity again that the Olympics brings from the crowd standpoint and from the athletes themselves. And yeah, I can't wait to get there. I can't wait.
You mentioned, Rowdy, that this will be your 9th Olympic Games. Correct me if I'm wrong. It will be your 8th, I believe, working with Dan Hicks again. And you guys talk about the golden age, if you will, of swimming. You guys are the golden age of sports broadcasting. I think we got a picture of you and Dan working together. Will this be your 8th time partnering with Dan? And that's got to be another Olympic record. Has there ever been another broadcast team that's worked together for 8 Olympics?
No, we passed that record actually, I think back in Rio in 2016. That in that picture where we were in Rio. So yeah, 2024 will continue that streak, and yes, it will be 8 Olympic Games. We started together in '96, and I can't begin to tell you the respect and love I have for Dan. He's a dear friend. Obviously, we've known each other a long time, and like you, a mentor in so many ways, Mark. You know, I really look up to him, even though I'm older than him. He is a complete pro, and not only in the booth, but he's also a real humble, dear person outside the booth, which means a lot more to me than his actual professionalism. He's the best in the business, and I can't wait to get to Paris. We're both going to Paris together for number 8.
Can't wait to see it. And you mentioned that NBC keeps asking you back. I have heard, haven't had it confirmed, that they've asked you already to go to LA for the 2028 games. Is that true? Will you be working with Dan again in Los Angeles?
I guess this is an exclusive because it really hasn't been announced yet, but they didn't tell me I couldn't announce it. But yeah, I'm going to be in Los Angeles. I'm assuming with Dan. You know, I never want to assume too much in the world of television business, but I have signed to do Los Angeles, and that will kind of be my swan song. You know, it'll kind of be full circle. Mark, to be able to say that I started in 1984 in Los Angeles as an athlete, as a swimmer. There you go, just like that, and then ended 44 years later in the same wonderful city of Los Angeles that I know will do an incredible job. It will be an Olympics like none other, I think, at least going back to 1984, and it will be talk about electric. It will be unbelievable, I think, and it'll be a great place to kind of wrap things up.
Rowdy, indulge me for just a minute, if you will, because we talked about this incredible journey from 84 to 2028. And just for, you know, the few people who may not understand it, you know, let's talk a little bit about it, because your journey to the 84 Olympics, to the gold medal, is not just the stuff of legends. It's now well documented. I mean, ESPN produced a film on it. There have been books written about it. And you know, just a couple of the high points, and I don't want to take your story from you, but I guess that I would tell it more readily than you would, as humble as you are. But folks, this is a guy who was cut from 6 different teams in high school. Didn't start swimming until he was 17. When he was a senior, finally realized he had a little bit of talent, and people told him if he wanted a scholarship to college, he needed to work out twice a day, but his team didn't work out twice a day. So he started sneaking in to hotel swimming pools in Winter Haven, Florida, and to get kicked out of one and go to the next until he got kicked out of that and go to the next, and eventually got a scholarship to Auburn and became the greatest swimmer in the world. And he was ready. He was the man. I mean, he was ready to kick some butt and take some names in Moscow when we boycotted it. And again, this is 1980. In 1980, there were no professional swimmers. There were no endorsement deals. Nobody made money. When your college career was over in 1980, your swimming career was over. Rowdy knew that there was something left. He stopped swimming for a couple of months. I don't know whether he was a lifeguard or worked as a hotel clerk. I've read both of those, but he didn't swim for a while until his dad and his coach, Richard Quick, encouraged him to get back in the pool. So for 4 years, with no money, basically living at the poverty level, he put his nose to the grindstone and decided that he still wanted to pursue his Olympic dream. And if you haven't seen video of Rowdy Gaines 100-meter freestyle in the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles, just Google it on YouTube and watch it, because it's really an incredible story. Rowdy, what did I leave out? I mean, when you think about that, what's that?
You put way too much in there.
No, I didn't put enough in there.
No.
I just
It's I think it's kind of cool that we live in a country that allows you the freedom to do the kinds of things we do, and you really can believe in the American dream. I mean, you're right. I did sneak into motels, and I don't recommend that to kids. But this was 50 years ago, so I can say I guess I did it. And you're right. I would literally. There were 5 motels that had heated pools, and so I would, I just kind of every week I'd get kicked out of one and move to another. But when I first started swimming, Mark, I looked like a little 5-year-old swimming and hitting the lane lines. I didn't have goggles. I kept hitting the lane line. And then 2.5 years later, I broke my first world record. So the point is I was really blessed. I was blessed to be a Floridian, born and raised in Winter Haven, Florida. My parents water skied for a place called Cypress Gardens. I grew up on a lake my whole life. My mom thought it was really critical that I knew how to swim. So I learned how to swim before I learned how to walk. I was 9 months old, but I didn't do any competitive swimming until I got to high school. So for me, I worked my butt off. I will say that, no doubt about it. But I was also blessed in many, many ways.
And you've blessed the sport in so many, many ways. And before we leave the broadcasting realm, before we leave Los Angeles, since you've been forthright with some stuff that you've been sharing with us, and I know you probably don't know this, and if you do, you won't be able to comment or confirm it. But what are the odds after LA, your swan song, that the #1 swimming analyst for NBC in the world is your buddy, Michael Phelps?
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Michael's going to be in the booth with me again in Paris. He called a couple races with me in Tokyo. He's been at the World Championships with me before, and he's really good at what he does. I mean, guy won 28 Olympic medals, 23 of them gold, Mark. So he probably knows a little bit about swimming. He might know just a little bit. And he loves the sport. He wants the sport to flourish. And I think he'd be awesome in the booth. Not sure he'd want to do it. But if anybody would be really, really good at it, it would certainly be Michael. But there would be a lot of candidates. I also think there would be some amazing women that would also be great in the booth as well. So that's not my decision. It won't be my decision. I'll certainly offer my advice if they ask for it, but I certainly don't expect them to ask for my advice either. So whoever's going to replace me, it's going to be fine. They'll be fine. Not that big a deal.
Hard to believe, but I think Rowdy Gaines has a passion that far exceeds his passion for swimming, and that is his passion, for his family. First and foremost, it's Rowdy. You bring it up all the time. You post pictures. You like to talk about what's going on. You've been married to your wife of Judy for more than 30 years. You've got 4 daughters, Emily and Madison and Savannah and Isabel. How many grandkids do you have now?
Well, you see a lot of girls in that picture, my friend. I have 4 daughters and 5 granddaughters now. So, a lot of girls in our house. So I think I've joked with you before. I play with Barbies and I like it. That's how bad it is in the house.
But yeah, it is interesting. Nothing but girls in your house, huh?
A lot of girls growing up, there were always girls running through our house, and friends and cousins and certainly daughters and now grandchildren. I love my kids and I love my grandkids just like any other parent. I'm no different. I do think that having grandchildren is a game changer. I wish I could express in words what it has meant to me in my life since they started coming along, and it's a real true blessing. I think if I would have known, I can do without my kids now. They're fine. See you later. I can't do without my grandkids. It's like I'm addicted to them. I'm obsessed with them. So it's a lot of fun to visit them. They're all in Salt Lake City, so my wife and I get out there quite a bit to see them and visit, and it's really special when we do.
What do they call you, Rowdy?
Grandpa,
Grandpa.
grandpa, grandpa, and grandma.
Grandpa Gaines. I love that.
Can you
You
believe
mentioned your
it?
mom and dad who were both professional water skiers skiing at is it Cypress Gardens? Is that what it was? Yeah,
Yep.
Gardens back in the 50s, Jetty and Buddy. And
Mhm.
I've had the pleasure of bumping into both of them just a time or two.
Yeah.
And sadly, Jetty passed away, what, a year or two ago. How are you doing with that, buddy? Because I know you're so close to everybody in your family.
Yeah, whenever you lose a parent, it's difficult. There's no doubt about it. But my mom was not in great health, Mark. So in many ways, and I'm sure a lot of children who lose parents in situations like this, you say it was a blessing, and in this case, it probably was. It doesn't make the hurt go away. Um, and I tell people that my friends and acquaintances that have lost parents, because I've lost one, time does heal. It doesn't make things better, but it does seem to be a healing process, and that's the only thing that does. It's just time. It seems like a year or two ago, but it'll be 6 years this summer when
Oh,
we
wow.
lost my mom. And so it's been a while, and it's
Sure.
you move on. And my dad's gosh, he'll be 88 in a couple of weeks, and he's going strong as ever, strong as a horse, healthy as a horse, as he likes to say. And so it's a blessing to be able to have him around too.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Rowdy. I appreciate that. And let's kind of begin to wrap it up with your other passion, which I mentioned a little bit previously, and that has really, defined your life from the very beginning. And it's why people call you swimming's greatest ambassador, because you're not just out there extolling the virtues of competitive swimming. You are, and you just don't talk the talk. You walk the walk in terms of encouraging everybody to learn to swim. For decades, you had your Rowdy's Kids program, which we've done stories on. You continue to hold clinics all over the world, almost everywhere you go, teaching lessons, and you're now working with an organization called Step Into Swim. What's that all about?
Well, it's wonderful. It's really kind of a wonderful way to kind of wrap up my professional career besides broadcasting, Mark. Step Into Swim, in short, is the philanthropic initiative, the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance, which is sort of the chamber of commerce to do with everything to do in the pool industry, contractors, builders, retailers. And our mission is really simple. We want to save lives through swim lessons. So the money that I raise, or we raise through Step Into Swim, mainly from the industry, but anywhere, we filtered that out. 100% goes to lesson providers around the country to teach children the life-saving gift of learning how to swim. And I think few people are educated enough to understand how big of a problem drowning is in our country. It's the number one killer of children ages 1 to 4. It's the number 2 killer of unintentional death in children ages 5 to 14. So we found the cure. That's what I try to tell people. The cure is really simple. It's swim lessons. If a child takes swimming lessons, it reduces that risk of drowning by about 90%. So that's what I try to preach to parents is don't ever take your eye off your child, ever. 80% of drownings happen in front of an adult, and put your kid in swim lessons. If you do those two things, I think you'll never have no child or no person is ever completely safe. But it is something that can definitely help save a life. And for me, I could care less whether the kid turns into Michael Phelps. All I care about is if he or she falls in the pool, they are able to float on their back until help arrives. That's the life-saving skill they need to learn.
Well, God bless you for the work that you do. Rowdy, we have enjoyed working with you over the years. Always are grateful for your willingness to hang out with us. And, truth be told, it wasn't exactly the Olympics, but it was the Senior Olympics, the National Senior Games in Albuquerque, when you held a growing boulder microphone. And you really have a passion for all sports, don't you? Not just swimming.
I really do. And I was blown away by those incredible athletes, Mark. They really were so, and I hate using this term, just kind of throwing it out there, but they really were so inspirational. And that's why I think what you've done with growing bolder is so important. And I think a lot of people, when they see those kinds of athletes and see those kinds of stories, it's not just the performances that were incredible, but it's the story behind the performances. And that's what we try to tell at the Olympic Games. And that's what you tell at those senior games. And for me, it was, gosh, it was so cool. It was a great honor. Hang out with you and see your expertise at doing all that TV stuff that I don't really know anything about. It was a lot of fun, and I really pay attention when that comes along. In fact, I took up pickleball a few months ago because of the senior games. You and I played pickleball for the first time. What was that? That was almost like 10 years ago, right? Wasn't it? Pickleball wasn't even popular back then.
It was 2019, and I remember the same thing. It was the first time we both played. They paired us with a couple of female competitors, your team against mine, and we trash talked the whole time. I kicked your butt relentlessly, and these women looked at us like, "Who in the hell are these guys who are playing their first game and are talking trash the whole time?"
Oh yeah, they were talking trash. We were talking trash. And in the end, we really did suck, buddy. I mean, it wasn't, you kicked my butt. That's not saying much, let me tell you.
Well, it's true. Let me just show you one more thing, because it occurred to me that Rowdy Gaines was on one of the very first covers of Growing Bolder magazine, which is arguably our most popular cover ever. I mean, everybody wanted to get a hold of this. I mean, look at that cover boy on there. Rowdy, what did your wife, Judy? I know she's seen this picture, but has she seen it on the cover of a magazine before?
Oh my gosh, I am one handsome fellow, aren't I? Good Lord, that guy is good looking. Boy,
yeah, it's a collector's item.
Yeah, it's funny what Photoshop can really do. I really appreciate you doing that, buddy.
Yeah, that's funny. I appreciate that. Folks, we've got truly enough Rowdy Gaines content to celebrate Rowdy year, let alone Rowdy week. Interviews from all over the world, interviews at your Masters Classic, the Rowdy Gaines Master Classic. You've recorded motivational minutes for us where you inspire people to live a healthy, active life. You appeared in our live Launchpad event, which is broadcast coast to coast on PBS. From a professional standpoint, Rowdy, I have to tell you, it's been amazing to work with you. We hope that we can keep it going as we roll out. Here's a scoop for you. As we roll out the beginning of our own streaming network in the next couple of months. But let me add this, and let me end with this, because you started by saying some nice things, which were totally undeserved to me. The professional association aside, the personal connection that I've been able to develop with you is something that I cherish. I mean, we have raced together. We have broadcast big meets together. We have brainstormed together. And every single time we get together, even if it's just for a moment on a pool deck, I honestly walk away energized. I walk away humble, and I walk away grateful to be able to call you my friend. So thank you one final time, because you allowed us to interfere with your birthday. And at the risk of asking you to do one more thing, since you now have the wisdom of a 65-year-old man, share with us, if you will, Rowdy, what's the big picture? What's the big takeaway? What's the key to living a life that you can be proud of?
That's a tough question, Mark. But I would tell you, I feel the same way as I did during my swimming career. Excuse me. I would say that if you live your life consistently, I think you'll be okay. Don't expect perfection. And I think for me, people ask me all the time, what was the number one reason why you won a gold medal? And I tell them all the time, first and foremost, it was passion. It was, I loved what I did. But the second thing, which goes along with that, is the consistent passion. It wasn't all the time. Dude, we know how it feels sometimes to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to practice. But I think that consistent passion was what really got me through each day. And again, I was never perfect, but I think my consistency paid off. So I hope that I'll be able to live my life in the same way, with a consistent passion for living life at the fullest.
No question, passion is contagious, and you have been a major spreader of it for many, many years. Rowdy, thank you so much for allowing us to spend some time with you. Grateful as we always are, and you're so kind as you always are. Have fun in Paris, travel safe, and we look forward to getting together whenever that happens.
Thank you, buddy. Sure appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship.